About 400,000 years before Megalodon is thought to have gone extinct, the Great White came along. While it may seem like the Great White would have a disadvantage over the Megalodon due to its size, it's actually the exact opposite. It was the size of the Great White that worked in its favor. Because it wasn't as big, the Great White didn't have to rely on large whales the way Megalodon did. It could get its nutrients from smaller fish. As a result, the Great Whites were able to grow and multiply at massive rates, while the Megalodon was just fighting to stay alive. As you can imagine, the Megalodon probably really hated the Great White for this. The ocean is a mysterious place. Did you know that only 5% of it has been explored by humans? The majority of the world's water has still been left undiscovered. But have you ever stopped to wonder if this is a good thing? Think about the sea creatures that have existed on our planet. The Megalodon was a massive shark that went extinct between 2 to 3 million years ago. It grew up to 60 feet long and lived in most of the ocean's regions. One of the questions that still baffles scientists is how the Megalodon went extinct. Could another creature have killed it off? We're talking all that and more today on Curiosity. What exactly was the Megalodon? For starters, the name Megalodon is just another word for big tooth. That's right, each of the Megalodon's teeth was an average of 7 inches long. This helped them kill their prey, which is said to have consisted of whales and smaller sharks. The jaws of the Megalodon measured an average of 9 to 11 feet, with an estimated bite force of 40,000 pounds per square inch. To put that into perspective, a modern great white shark has a bite force less than 2 tons. The Megalodon existed in most regions of the ocean. A fully grown, mature Megalodon was likely not to have any predators, so how exactly did they die out? Well, there are several theories. Climate change may have something to do with it. Between 3 to 5 million years ago, the Earth began to cool, entering an era known as the Pliocene. As the water turned to ice, sea levels began to drop. This caused land to form that had previously been submerged underwater. Before this, the Megalodon was able to travel much easier to find prey. But with this new land blocking their way, the Megalodon had a much more difficult time finding food. Perhaps the greatest example of this was the development of the land we now call Central America. Once the water levels lowered, this land was blocking the pathways different species would take to get from one side of the continent to the other. This left their food options limited, as many of their natural prey would have been separated by the new land. The Megalodon would have been one of the species affected the worst, as their body mass required more food to stay healthy. These changes in the oceans would have caused species to migrate in order to find food. If they couldn't adapt to a new environment, they would have gone extinct. With fewer nutrients flowing through the currents, biodiversity was affected throughout the ocean. Species of fish that once thrived were now dying off. Over time, entire ecosystems would disappear. You see, the Megalodon stayed in warmer areas. Before the Pliocene era, this meant they were able to thrive in most areas but the poles. But it all changed once the ocean started freezing. They were left with fewer places to thrive. Because they didn't have enough genetic diversity, they were unable to adapt to different temperatures. There's also salt water to consider. During the freezing of the Earth's oceans, The lowering of the sea levels caused the water to become saltier. The increase in salt would end up shifting the ocean currents, only worsening the lack of nutrients in certain regions. This would have frustrated the Megalodon, as it would only be going hungrier. Did the great white actually kill off the Megalodon? I know it sounds crazy. I mean, wasn't the great white a lot smaller than the Megalodon? About 40 feet smaller to be exact. The average Megalodon is said to be between 50 to 60 feet, while the average great white is 15. With this difference in size, how does the great white take out the Megalodon? Well, before you go thinking that schools of great white sharks would travel the ocean swarming all Megalodon like some kind of bloodthirsty fish gang, it's a little more complex than that. Let me explain. Remember, since the oceans were changing, countless species were starving and dying off. This would allow smaller species of ocean life to evolve and become apex predators. For those of you who are unfamiliar, an apex predator is a predator at the top of the food chain. It basically runs things in its region. Before the climate shift, many of the sea's creatures would eat smaller fish or krill. This allowed the Megalodon to basically eat whatever it wanted, because very few predators were hunting the same foods. The ocean was basically one big buffet. It goes without saying that Megalodon ate meat, and a lot of it. Given its size, it probably fed on whales and other sharks. I know it sounds weird for a fish to eat its own species, but sharks were a terrific meat source for a creature as large as Megalodon. Now just imagine you're a Megalodon during the Pliocene era. The oceans are changing, and fewer whales and sharks are around for you to eat. You're eventually going to go hungry. Over the course of thousands of years, the Megalodon soon found itself with more competition, as smaller predators were going for the same foods. This meant their already limited food source was getting even smaller. Temperature also played a role. Megalodons needed to stay in warmer regions as they had larger bodies to keep warm. Since the great white didn't have the body mass, it could easily travel to a colder part of the ocean. This expanded its food source even further. Experts also believe that great whites and other sharks began to feed on infant megalodons, reducing their numbers even more. Soon enough, the Megalodon didn't stand a chance against nature. So what ended up killing Megalodon once and for all? Well, according to research, scientists believe that multiple factors are the cause. Climate change was likely the main cause of extinction, although the rise of the great white certainly didn't help. While researchers seem to agree that the Megalodon is gone, there's still a fringe group of scientists who speculate that it's still lurking in the deeper parts of the ocean. This is highly unlikely, though. The ocean is a truly terrifying place. While we probably won't be discovering the new Megalodon anytime soon, there are plenty of creatures we haven't found. Let's keep the conversation going with a couple of ocean-related videos, shall we? Here's what you need to know. Learn about how deep the ocean actually is, or how about you take a trip to the Marianas Trench? Go ahead, click one, or better yet, watch both, and learn more about the mystery that is our oceans. What deep-sea creature keeps you up at night? Let us know in the comments below.